So I wanted to follow up in the last video about this idea of AI and templates by talking about how legal documents are often tailored to a specific growth stage. So for those that are new and are watching this video for the first time, my name is Romesh. I'm a lawyer for over a decade, practicing in Ontario. And one of the things that I'm really mindful of is how our legal documents are really often tied to a specific stage in time, how or a particular sort of relationship. And so what I want this to focus on this video is really the idea that you understand how, or you start adopting more of a systematic approach when it comes to managing your legal relationships. And you start moving away from the patchwork solutions, the DIY templates, the reactive solutions, and start really integrating more of a proactive approach to addressing legal risks. Now, for when you first started your business, you probably have to prioritize various types of things, right? Whether it be your business operations, trying to make your first sale, law protecting against legal risk might have been just an afterthought, right? And so, what over time, as you start making revenue, getting revenue, you are going to need to start thinking about how to create legal structures that are conducive to growth. And those structures often need to be flexible. So, for example, a simple 2-page partnership agreement that you do when you first start out might need to be supplemented as you grow, right? If you are a business that has maybe like 1 or 2 employees, once you get to 10 or 15, 20 employees, you might need more robust employment policies, right? Trying to use, for lack of a better word, artificial intelligence or a template you find online, it doesn't really make sense, right? Because you don't want to be a lawyer. You want to be focusing on what you do best and pay somebody else to do all the heavy lifting, right? So let's talk a little bit about the stages and what this thing could look like, right? So when you first start out, I think the first few contracts you may need would basically be an agreement that is all about and is relevant to revenue, right? So that might mean a sales agreement, a services agreement, business purchase agreement, invoicing, with that type of stuff, right? And as long as you have that sort of agreement, you'll be okay. When it comes to, you might also, if you are starting a business and if you're by yourself, that's okay. But if you're starting a business with somebody else, you might want partnership agreement or a shareholders agreement, okay? And what that agreement is about is that agreement basically outlines and governs how the company is to be managed. Now, over time, you might want to be thinking about gathering employees. Once you make that decision, you want to have a written employment agreement in place that outlines and identifies what the relationship between you and that employee is going to be. And that can take both financial considerations as well as non-financial considerations. What do I mean by that? So most employers would always talk about money, how much you're paying them, wages, all that type of stuff, right? You should also be thinking at this point in time about how you're going to protect your company assets, such as intellectual property. You might want to also talk about how setting expectations about performance management, like how you're going to make sure that this employee is going to perform well. So those are the things that you may be thinking about. You might also want to have more robust employment agreements that identify or restrict the employee's ability to work with others, or to make sure that if there's especially intellectual property, you want to make sure that they assign the IP to the employer. These are what's called non-financial considerations, right? So the financial and non-financial. And then as you grow even bigger, you probably want to be talking a little bit more about um, contract systems. You might want to be talking about remote work policies. Um, but this is just one example of of how or your legal essentials are going to change as your business grows, right? And again, having you're using artificial intelligence or some template you found online is just not a conducive way to do things, especially if you want to minimize your legal risks, right? And that's really a lot of what I do here at Signal Lloyd, right? It's really all about identifying where the risks are and taking proactive steps to address those risks. And in my practice, we do this by leveraging artificial intelligence to identify risks and organize information. And then with that identification, we're then in a better position to work more effectively with you to address those risks. And we use tools like a contract checklist. We use our legal risk audit. We even have an onboarding wizard that will create like an onboarding package for specific types of roles that will ensure that your employees perform as expected. And if they don't work out, you terminate them sooner rather than later. So again, the value of a lawyer is helping business owners make better business decisions. And unfortunately, the reality is that artificial intelligence or a template you find online, it just doesn't suit those needs. So as always, if you think that either myself or my team can be of assistance to you, feel free to reach out. You can start a message with our team by simply replying or providing a comment below. If you want more information about our AI wizards, feel free to drop us a direct message and my team will get back to you with that information. As always, if you think it can be of assistance, and frankly, if you think that this can be of assistance to somebody else, please do share, follow, comment, like, do the social media thing. But as always, if you need help, we'd be pleased to serve you. Chat soon. Cheers.